I'm still getting used to that laugh. Tic tac, tic tac,
Jeez.
tic tac, tic tac. People, you're very welcome to the transfer show. And look who I've got with me to talk Liverpool, to talk transfers. The first
Hello,
time
sir.
making his much awaited debut. I've got James Hammers Redders
In
Redmond
the building. In
in
the
the
building.
building.
In the
My
building.
God, it's been a while. It's been too late. It's been too long. James, finally you're here. Welcome.
In the words of the Dwayne the Rock Johnson, finally, James Redmond has come back. And Chris, don't forget, I've been on your channel before. We done this about 2 years ago, 2.5 years ago. I've been on. Oh, I don't know if that was your channel actually, so I'm not gonna. I'm not. Yeah, man.
Exactly.
We have done content before, sir, and that has been a pleasure to do it. I'm glad to make my debut on here. We're connecting from Kirkdale to Luton. It's a beautiful thing. And thank you for the chat, for all the great welcome.
Here we go. People out. There we go. Big up James. James is in the building, people. James is in the building.
You're making me feeling like the popular kids in school. I appreciate it.
On, man. This is man like Hammers. Listen, we need to...
I actually feel like a big deal. I'm a huge deal. Now that I've seen this chat, I now recognise I'm a huge deal.
Listen, trust me, you are. Because I was telling you before, I didn't want to big you up in private because you might have thought, he's giving me the boost up and whatever, blah, 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 blah. But I needed to say it in front of everyone as well because you are an absolute legend in the content Liverpool creation game. You are.
Thank you.
We don't see enough of you. We need to see more of you out and about. But ever since you appeared, and everyone knows the iconic meme of you, or whatever you want to call it, the iconic phrase and the iconic line.
Yeah.
Everyone knows. But since then as well, the way you talk about the game, the way you talk about your passion and Liverpool, your hometown as well, bro. It's a pleasure to be on again on a screen with you again. Had to do that all that business with you.
Honestly, thank you. Same goes, by the way, and I told you before screen, and I don't want to make the viewers feel too cringy, so I'll tell you more after. But the same respect goes the other way, sir. Listen, and by the way, that random wave in the middle of your heartfelt message was to Texas Dave because he asked me to send him.
There you go.
That was the premise.
Listen, there's close to sugar plum 450 viewers, and yeah. It is what it is, and I don't know what it means. Like, I don't know if it's an actual phrase, but sugar plum.
I appreciate it as somebody.
And then you start another plum because it rhymes with sugar plum.
As someone who's trying to stop swearing, God help me with my language. I do really believe that listening to you. I think that was a good one. I think sugar plum is a winner, so I'm going to use that in the vocab going forward.
There you go. Sugar plum.
Going up in the world,
people. What I need everyone to do before we get into the chat, and obviously the title of the show, people know what it was advertised on YouTube as. We will get into it all. Patience, calma. We've got a lot to get through. Yeah, it's actually true. James is making his debut on my channel. We've done about 4 or 5 pieces of content on various other platforms.
But we never get to on the Big Six because the mutual team, that's the biggest shame. Isn't that the biggest shame? We've never got to do a Big Six show together. Never.
Unbelievable. Well, I think we've got a couple of tag teams specials lined up, which I shouldn't have. I shouldn't have.
We won't go into it. Next thing.
I've got such a big mouth, but we're going to have a couple of tag teams, and I think me and you're going to be tagging up against 2 of the other teams. So, yeah, they're in for trouble.
You've just spoiled the winners, but we'll move on. We'll move on.
Sadiq says, isn't that from the Brown Girl in the Ring song, Sugar Plum Plum? I don't know. Brown Girl in the Ring. Is it that one?
I'm not onto me tunes too much, but I think you'd be disappointed if you saw me playlist, Grizz.
No, I don't think I will.
I don't know, it's a little bit, it's one of those, you know what I mean?
I'm weird, So, don't look at my beard and I'm weird.
Grizz, I don't want to make you feel any weird way. I'm young, like I'm a 2000s. I'm a baby lad. So here's the score, right? I have spent my younger years, let's say, I used to get pretty, I can only describe it as illusions by, football compilations. And you imagine it's you, and you see Ronaldo doing his thing, Lionel Messi doing his thing, and you think, I'm going to do that in my head times 10, pretty much. And then I'm going to replicate it when I'm older. and it doesn't happen, but you believe it so much in your head in the moment. Basically, I've got tunes like that, but then I've got, UK rap because I went through a phase. Guess what, though, Grizz? Can I tell you a little fun fact about James Redmond?
Go on.
So I've been going to church, right? I'm not trying to make this a podcast about me, but I've been going to church, right? I've been going on my Sundays, and I've been starting to add a little bit of gospel music in my playlist as well. So, and it's all in one. I'm not one to separate. It's all in one playlist. So
there you go, guys. I was supposed to give you 2 exclusives. You mother! I've got 3 exclusives for the price of 2.
You got my playlist.
James Redmond's playlist consists of soul music.
What can I say?
There you
What
go.
can I say?
These people, listen, guys. If that
What can I
doesn't
say?
deserve a like, I don't know what deserves a like. Coming up to
I know.
600, you guys. We should have minimum 300 likes right now before we move it
Indeed.
further. James Hammers. I'm not going to call you Hammers because that's exclusive to Big Up Expressions, our brother. He
No,
is the GOAT.
he created it, but he licensed that for everybody. That's the
Okay,
cool thing.
because I don't want
He
to get on
licensed
his
that for
wrong side.
everybody.
I don't want to get
I
on his
feel
wrong
ya.
side. Because when he starts, I'm not ready for that. For that smoke from expressions. He's gonna make me do stupid. And I'm a family man. You understand? I can't handle him anymore.
I feel.
He's too
I'm
much.
still immature, so if you ever need anything, send me in.
Send you in. That's why I tag you in.
I've got nothing to live for. You've got kids. I've got no kids.
No, that's you have. I know we haven't spoken about FSG and Liverpool and whatnot, especially after the Jude debacle. And I ask my guests, especially ones I really value, whose opinions I really value, after the Jude debacle, non-chasing of him, whatever the chase and whatever, it was very, very important FSG showed us something. Because otherwise it would have been despondency, doom and gloom, even more than we've had with the season gone. So season gone, we've had a shit season. We've not finished top 4. Then we pull off out of Jude Bellingham. It was imperative. We've had a great start, and it's only a start, by securing a World Cup winner, 24-year-old, going into the prime of his career for, wait for it, 35 million hammers. I was told 38 million. I broke it on Sunday show, was it, whatever? But 35 million hammers. Initial opinions. Everyone, we've rinsed the McAllister chat, people in the chat. We're not going to talk much on it. We're just going to quickly get James's opinion. I'm going to call you James and Hammers. Just go with it.
Go for it. That's how people like to roll, baby. You know what I mean? Change it up. In terms of Thuram, I'm a big fan. Someone has used the comparisons of Yaya Toure. I don't know if I quite... Sorry, it looked like you were about.
We'll do McAllister first before we get on to the...
My bad. Why am I saying my bad?
Slip of the tongue.
Slip of the tongue. Only because someone said on my channel about Thuram earlier. What's it called? And by the way, if you want to go and check out channel James Redmond TV, if you wish.
I've seen
quite got the sources of this.
I've seen at least 30 people say we've just subscribed to James Redmond TV. Make sure you guys go and give a subscribe and a follow to James Redmond right now. Sorry, Carlos is his dad. Alexis McAllister.
I done the Gary McAllister thing. I done the Gary McAllister where I was calling him Gary repeatedly throughout the video when we were linked with him. No, listen, that price and you know that's just unbelievable. And I simply sat there and I've boasted about the price since I found out about the price. And it's one of those things where I'll sit there and people have said to me, "Oh, but you can't brag about a release clause." But you can brag when you're the team who triggers the release clause. And then even though you're a Europa League team, even though you've dropped off, you've still identified a player who has said, "You know what? No, I'm going to join the club. I see the vision. It's something that I'm willing to work with." And even though I've got other options, you're the club that I choose because I see that as being the long-term benefit for me. Because if I go to a Man United, track record says I'm not going to do too well. And if I go to a club in a different country in Europe, we see what the top teams are doing across Europe right now. A lot of them are very unstable. I'm not saying we're in the best position, but I think he's identified the manager and he's identified the love that he will receive from the fans. And I think he saw that a little bit at Brighton. He was thinking, wow, these type of... And I'm not saying we're Brighton, of course, we're much... But I'm saying in terms of that, since, you know, that connection between the players, the fans, and the, you know, the atmosphere around the stadium, everything they've gone through, I think he wants to keep that somewhat. And I think he knows he... At United becomes another player at United. He at City becomes another player at City. You get where I'm going. But at Liverpool, he has a massive opportunity to really grow that connection for the fans, because if you give us a few big moments in Europe and you give us a couple of good seasons of consistency, you're going to be adored and you're going to be considered a legend, as Divock Origi knows. so many
know. Absolutely. So many. Look. We're not going to, as I said, we're not going to dwell too much on Alexis McAllister because the nature of us fans is already asking who's next. And rightly so. You know, who's next, you ask. Because we do. James, look, we've gone through a absolute roughhouse couple of years. Well, a year or so, I should say, a season especially. And we deserve good things. We're a fan base that's been very patient. And we've got a brilliant manager, not so great owners, but we deserve good things. And everyone wants to know who's next. So Alexis McAllister has been a tremendous start to the window. Oh, big up Ravi, who's actually put your link and everything in the chat
Big up
chat. So,
Ravi. Yeah, familiar, Ravi.
so
Absolute legend. Thank you,
go
sir.
and check that out, guys. Listen,
While you're revealing that, I'm just going to go and get a water. But
go and get some
I'll be
water.
back in
Go and get
5
some
seconds.
water. Go and get some water. And look, obviously, everyone wants to know. It's the nature of us fans, isn't it? People in the chat. Who's next? Who's next? And we've spoken about what we need to do. We need to get the right profile of player. We know what areas we need to focus on. It's not rocket science. It's midfield. And obviously, so many names have been branded about. And I guess, James, you've been reading the links. Are you a little bit surprised? Like, Liverpool normally don't come out with so many names openly. Are you surprised that
Yeah.
there's so many links out in the open this time around? It's not usually our style, is it?
Well,
We're very hush hush.
Yeah, very much so. Well, the other day I had a topic about one midfielder, then the other day it was about Kone. Today, the reason why I thought you were talking about that is I was talking about him earlier in his feed.
It's the topic of everyone's conversation.
I'm so used to just mentioning it. If it was yesterday, it would have been Kone. And it's just one of those things where, you know, because I've got so stuck in my head, because you mentioned we need to keep improving. You know, I've got so stuck in my head. McAllister by himself is not a good signing. Hear me out. It's not because he's not a good player. It's nothing to do with this. But a man by himself in an 11-man team can only do so much. If you get him people to accommodate him partners, then this is where I think he becomes an excellent signing. So that's where we need to accommodate him. But yeah, I
think you've absolutely nailed it. That's exactly it. McAllister's profile is of a player that or a prototype of players that we've already got. So, for example, hear me out, guys, before you go wild. Thiago is obviously done much more than McAllister in his career, but Thiago is a ball playing player who's going to connect, knit the play, right? Hasn't got the physical attributes that we may require. Harvey Elliott, Curtis Jones. We've seen these kind of players. What we needed was people that are going to protect us in the transition. We're crying out for. McAllister's a great start, and he will absolutely keep the ball for us. Do you remember, like, when we were really, really good, James, and we would not let teams out? And why we wouldn't let teams out was if they would try to counterattack us, Fabinho would win the ball right before anyone else, and then Henderson and Gini would keep it simple again and keep giving it to Mo and Mane and Bobby straight away. So we would pen teams in. It seemed like last year or so we were so easy to get counterattacked. And what we all cried for was legs, physical attributes. And we've been linked with so many players in recent weeks. But there was a couple of names that I wanted to speak upon.
Let's go.
Kefren Turam, we've been linked with. Nice, 6'4", the son of the great Lilian, the brother of the not so great Marcus Thuram. Lilian Thuram is, for me, a special talent, a special player. First and foremost, and be honest, if you don't know him, you don't know him. You know, we'll take it from there. But do you know much about him since we've been linked with him? Have you got a bit of... Go on. Totally zero?
Zero, not right. So now it's 15%. It was zero. So I've improved in terms of my knowledge on Thuram. I know he's French. I know he's made a French cap, which I'm actually impressed by. I feel like people don't look into that enough. I feel like for an under-23s team in France, which is better than England's first team, I really do believe that's a great achievement that he's made the first team. On top of this, he plays for a good team. I've seen compilations. I know that's not the best way to come to a good conclusion on a player. The good things, I like what I see. I feel like you can see someone based on what they've got. Sounds on the ball. Young.
Check this out then. This is what we're going to do.
Not bad.
This is what we're going to do, James. I'm going to
go.
ask you, with McAllister, if you had two more options of profiles of players with attributes that you feel Liverpool needed, give me the attributes you're looking for in the two players to complement and make McAllister a great signing for Liverpool.
So the thing that you really, really need. So one thing I appreciated about what you mentioned before, the good spells. So the good spells, it was a very big case where sometimes we'd alternate to where Fabinho would not only do the high press when the team would high press, hence the high line, but also when he dropped back into the back three and we'd change, and then it'd allow the fullbacks to really go forward. And that was a consistent theme for quite a while. Now Fabinho is someone who, the role that he's been told to do is being slightly alternated, but the main thing that I've saw is that he's just not capable of doing the same things, less tenacity at times. Still sound, but needs that element of competition, or it could be a case that he's finished. I am willing to accept that it could be the first one. I don't want to be one of those guys who just jump to the finish thing. I am willing to give you a chance. But if we get someone else in the squad who is good enough for that position, then that means we have to now see competition. And I thought it was a little bit too soon for Bajcetic, and I do think now, I couldn't see it more than a year, 2 years for Fabinho. I just think that replacement is coming soon. Therefore, the type of profile that I'm looking for, I named someone the other day because you've got the realistic signings, the unrealistic signings, and there's just a certain type of profile that we just don't sign. But Joshua Kimmich's that type of idea. And I understand I am talking about the most of elite ballers, but I'm talking about someone who's versatile. I'm talking about someone who's got technical ability and also the elements of creativity. Not only reads the game, but also has got a very lovely, precise pass. It's another man with danger. And if you can identify a young talent with similar thing, is that Expressions, by the way? Is that my guy? Is that my brother? Or is that someone else? Because Expressions is a big deal. He should have a tick on his channel. So I don't know if that's...
Yeah, exactly.
You know, shouldn't he have a tick?
Shouldn't
he have a tick? He should have a tick. Yeah. Bun of fake Expressions, and if it's the real one, where's your tick, you small timer? Exactly. Anyway, yeah, you know what I mean. Anyway, but yeah, the point that I'm making is that we need someone who can connect it all together. It's very difficult to find those type of players. But to accommodate them, get someone who's going to be strong in the midfield with a work rate, and then also get someone with the high IQ, which is why Henderson has been able to stay in this team for such a long time. Because he's got a basic level of ability, but then he's got this, and that's what's kept him in the game.
Look, I think you're absolutely spot on. All those attributes and everything that you said, the skill set required in this Liverpool team, especially midfield, is quite unique, especially the way we play. Mm-hmm. Just before we do move on, Fabinho, what's your views on Fabinho? Because I've been critical of Fabinho this season. Yeah, man. Of course, everyone's ready to lash Hendo, and I get it. Henderson's been awful this season, right? I get it, and I'm not slating Fabinho because defending Hendo, if you know what I mean. Hendo's been crap, but we know Hendo is past it. Yeah. What do you think about Fabinho? And are you? Because I genuinely think. I don't think we'll ever see the best of Fabinho again, James. I'm sorry if that's come as a shock to you, or you agree, or whatever. I genuinely don't think
you are last person. No, you're our last. How do you feel? You've just disrespected the club legend. Don't sip your cup. I don't feel
I'm not disrespecting him. I'm just thinking we're not going to see the best. That's exactly what you're doing.
No, that's exactly what you're doing.
How?
I don't need to explain how. It's quite obvious. You've literally just sat there and said that he's done.
No.
Yeah, you did. Why has he only got 2 years then? If you've only just got him, if you only just bought an Xbox One, how's it not finished? Okay. It's only just started.
Hopefully the chat will have heard what I said. I've said we have seen the best of him. Now, the best of Fabinho was the best DM in Europe. No, I don't think we'll see the best of him.
Yeah.
I think he's on a downward trajectory.
Yeah.
Not upward trajectory. If Liverpool want to get back to the top, James, we need to get someone who hasn't, or someone who's about to reach his heights. I don't think Fabinho is the guy who's going to reach any more heights. I think he's...
Okay. So next season you're putting him. So you're putting him on the bench next season.
He's on. I'm telling you, all eyes on Fabinho.
Yeah. Only one of my eyes work, so I've got one eye on Fabinho.
So I think you're thinking. Focus. So I think you're thinking Fabinho. It was the system. It was the situation with the role we were asking him to play. You're blaming in all of that.
I'm actually not. I'm actually playing devil's avocado. I completely agree with everything that you're saying. No, my views are being very apparent on Fabinho, to be honest with you. I've said that he's finished for a long, long time. And I think you're being very generous.
Disrespecting.
No, I'm being deadly serious. Like when his wife was pregnant, I thought he was the one that was pregnant. It was just one of those things where I feel, Fabinho, I love Fabinho, and again, I'm fine giving him to give him the chance of competition. But he just looks slower. His hips look slower. He doesn't look the same, and for that reason, I think it's important to look for the replacements. And if you want to become the team that we set out to be 12 months ago,
this is my point.
Exactly, it's about setting the highest standards. And Fabinho, as much as I believe he can add to the squad's environment, I suppose, because that's a thing when people talk about Adrian. Yeah, then that's fine. And I also believe he can add to the games when whoever it is, the new DM isn't starting regularly. But
Sure,
we need to get that competition.
Look,
so I agree.
This is quite relevant to what we're going to say, but big up Pimpin' Destroy, the godfather and the grandson. Smash the likes, people.
Jeez, the grandson, Come on, G.
The reason why I wanted to...
That can be our show,
Oh, sugar, we were thinking of a name.
Come on.
Come
on. I'll be the grandson of the show. Makes you sound much older.
I was going to say, man, allow the granddad business. It is what it is. The game's the game.
Grandpa Grizz, bruv.
Papa Grizz. Hey, Papa Grizz. By the way, my subscribers and followers, wherever, do need an impression of your Cockney English.
Cockney English. Where we speak like this and just start going roadman and that, or are you talking
about? That's what I'm saying.
Well, when I go West Ham or something like, we just won the Europa Conference League, mate.
That's the one.
Messed it out, mate.
Because you got. I'm around the corner from West Ham, so I'm like, I can speak that, and I love that, and I love hearing it. But hearing it out of your mouth is a total different game. It's like.
That needs to be worked on. I can appreciate that perfection is one thing, and that is not quite perfection yet, but we'll get there all in due course. The roadman accent, that's got experience.
But listen, what I was saying was about the godfather. Fabinho would be that godfather. I get it. Yeah, and that's why I was going to use that analogy. And I agree with you. I'm not saying sell him. I'm not saying flog him. I'm not saying he's done with. I'm saying he should be there, but younger proteges should be looked at. And I also agree with you, because I don't want to make it a fucking... nodding an agreement show where we're both agreeing with each other. I agree with you about Bejitic as well. I think he's done amazing. I think he's brilliant, but I don't think he's ready, James, for what we need. I don't think Bejitic is ready. What do you think about Stefan Bejitic next season? We need something more, right?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's just it.
He's good. He's been brilliant.
It's tough when you're not the guy in training seeing him. That being said, one thing I will say from what I've seen on the pitch, because that's all I can assess, is that I would not lay all cards on the table to suggest he's the starting DM. And I'm just using logic. So if you want to use all the correct paths here, Fabinho, maybe you'll tell me different. Fabinho is likely not to leave. We don't look like we're interested in letting him go. Then you've got the situation. I'm losing my point. There was another point there, and it was a great one.
It'll
as well.
Come back to you. It's not often, come back.
It was
Fabinho.
Sorry. So exactly. So there's two things. Fabinho not going, and Bajcetic is not certified to be ready. These two things put together don't suggest to me to be the answer to let's start Bajcetic going forward, and he's going to be the guy who wins us league titles or gets us back into that conversation. I just feel like that's too soon of a jump to do so. So the only conclusion that gets to, we're not selling Fabinho, Bajcetic is obviously not going, but he's not ready. You go and get somebody else in. That's the way I see it. And then let Bajcetic speak for himself. And then if he's ready, by the time Fabinho's gone, let him go in, for sure.
Look, I guess it brings us to the first, as we mentioned that name, Kefren Turan. We've been linked with him.
Of course.
James, I'm here to tell you, because you didn't know about this as well. I'm going to tell you as well now, live and exclusive. I want to see. Kefren Turan is 6'4", graceful runner with the ball. Not many people can run with the ball like Kefren Turan. He's a ball carrier. I don't know who to describe him. People have compared him to Yaya Toure potentially.
Yeah.
And that is some fucking comparison. If we're comparing him to Yaya Toure, who for me was one of the most amazing Premier League midfielders of recent times. This guy, French under 23 international from Nice. According to what I've been told, James, we have agreed personal terms and are very close to agreeing a fee with his club for the purchase of Kefren Turan. Now, insane. I wanted to break this, but apparently on Twitter, it's all over the place and everywhere. So it's not an exclusive per se now, because when I heard about it, we went live. Kefren Turan, James, is, I believe, going to be a Liverpool football player. How do you feel now that I've described his attributes and his facilities to you?
Well, mixed with someone with a bit more experience on watching the player combined of the little I've saw, I'm liking the idea. I really do. I want to see someone with work rate. I want to see someone with an incentive. I kind of like the fact he's on 15k a week. At least that's what I've heard. He's on 15k a week currently, and that means we can increase those wages. It's now a big opportunity for him, and there's a big incentive to try and push into that French team. And I just think, to play for Liverpool under the right manager, and who knows who else is going to come through that door. I feel like he sees Liverpool are looking to make changes.
Well, check this out, James. Check this out.
Let's
you
go,
make a great point. You make a great point about he sees, because not only he sees, his father sees. So just like Carlos McAllister, in the case of Alexis. Yeah.
Oh, is Carlos his dad?
His dad, Carlos, his dad.
Get ya.
So Carlos was like, "This is the club for you. This is the vision for you." Because I tweeted Chelsea came in for him at the last minute, and Chelsea fans went for me. No, we didn't. Shut up. You're just making it up. Well, today Paul Joyce and a few other journalists confirmed that Chelsea did try to get Alexis McAllister to Liverpool, but he said Liverpool is the place for me. Jurgen Klopp is the coach for my son. Lilian Thuram, the great Lilian Thuram, has apparently said the same to his son. He said, Jurgen Klopp and Liverpool Football Club is the place for you. How good does it feel? Even though we're shit, we're still rated, if you know what I mean.
Rated in what sense? This is where I'll
revered
on something.
Because Lilian Thuram, PSG want him, and what was the other club? There's another couple of big clubs for him, but he's been telling them that Liverpool Football Club is the one, even though they're not Champions League.
Yeah.
We want Liverpool Football Club. I want my son's education, next football education, to take place at Kirby under Jurgen Klopp at Liverpool Football Club.
Yes, it's beautiful that we can be one of the best clubs in the world and therefore attract the next best thing. It's a big shame that we're one of the best clubs in the world and we can't attract the right here and the right nows. I always go back to the biggest thing, like in the past 10 years, the biggest name signing that we've made really is Thiago. And that was a £20 million signing where arguably he was past his prime. And then now we've got a situation where he plays once every 3 games. And I just don't feel like we see those big names coming into the squad enough. And even though it's great to be able to get a Thuram and a Mane and a Salah and identify them before they become the superstar they end up becoming, it does become, at least based on case studies, an unsustainable cycle because, we got to the title race with Brendan Rodgers and then we dropped off and then we got Jurgen Klopp and then we've had ups and downs. And, 2 of the last 3 seasons have been very underwhelming. 2 of them have been trophyless. If you want to be shameless and include the Community Shield, then I'm wrong. But in the case,
let's do it, man. Let's do it, man. Let's be shameless.
Let's do it. All right then. We've won trophies in 2 of our last 3 seasons. Jeez. But in terms of the high level trophies that we would have liked to have had in those 2 seasons as well, we've missed out. And why is that? Because of the quality players. These Mbappes and Bellinghams in which we've got linked with. And here's the thing. I actually feel sorry for people who either report news who class themselves as journalists, because what is true in February may not be true no more in May. And this is what fans don't put 2 and 2 together. Like one moment, Jude actually might be looking at Liverpool and saying, that's actually my number 1 option right now. But that's in March, we're in May, and now it's a case of where maybe Liverpool don't want to pay extra amounts or they don't want to pay extra wages, whatever the issue ends up being. Maybe he thought Real Madrid's the best option because I don't see a vision with Liverpool in the short term. Everyone's got their own eye. So yes, I agree. It's nice that we can still sign players who, like you said, linked with PSG, McAllister, linked with Chelsea. But then I also sit back and think, I'm not in the business of beating teams to transfers. I'm in the business of winning trophies. And the second that I start seeing us doing that on a consistent basis, based off the business that we've done, and we're constantly competing on all fronts, that's when I can sit there and say,
Can I come back to you with something on that? And I agree with you, and I get the frustration and elements of frustration what you've said. But can I come back with you, James?
You may.
We have just gone through the last 7 years of winning every trophy possible. When was the last time we bought the big name stars? We built our success from being smart, clever, ahead of the curve. So I think we've been crap in the window last couple of seasons, yeah? And we all know we have been. But if we're going back to that, buying the Gini Wijnaldums just before they got world class, Mane, Salah, Bobby, Robertson, just to name Virgil even really, if Liverpool 2.0 is starting off by buying McAllister, would you say McAllister is not a household name? He's now become a household name because of the World Cup.
There's two fields.
You get where I'm going with this, right?
Kimmich's, and then there's the fields with McAllisters and stuff like that who are the next thing.
No, but you get where I'm going. So if we're about to buy McAllister, Nunes, who hasn't shown that he's a world star, but some people say he's got the potential to become a world star, and we're buying the next world stars like we did in the first phase of building Klopp's team. What's the harm in it? Now, I get it. We need to sprinkle that with a few ready-made Kimmiches, like you said. I get that. But I believe in the process because we've seen it and we've lived it with our very own
For sure,
eyes.
for sure.
Do you get it?
Yeah, no, for sure, for sure.
In recent times, we lived the process, and we saw
Yes,
us lifting the Premier League title. Well, we didn't because it
yes,
was COVID, but you know what I mean. It happened, and the Champions League and every
yes.
other trophy. Surely we trust the process again, or is it more difficult to do now because of every other fucking team around us?
It's very interesting where to start there. There's actually a lot of good questions in that, and I want to pick it off with counting each point at a time because this is why I love you, Grizz, because you articulate your points so accurately, and it's actually good to have these type of discussions, I think. Okay, one of the first things you said is that we've done. Why would you want to change? So basically, you basically said that don't fix what's not broken. So if we've won every trophy in the past 7 years, why dramatically change the approach? We don't have a Philip Coutinho to sell. So as much as I appreciate this, sentiment that you're putting forward about we haven't, or we've gone and bought, we've went and had one really impressive year of transfers when a big asset went out the club. The other time that we saw a big volume of transfers, not good transfers, but volume, was when Suarez left the club. If you don't have the big asset to sell, which, unless you can correct me, I don't know who we're going to sell for a big amount of money individually. I don't see us bringing in the volume of even if it is the next big thing. Not all of them are going to be 35 million, 40 million. You really need to amplify this and look at it for, you don't want to miss out on your number one target to get number two, and just because he was your number two. You'd like to ideally get number one if you want to compete for the biggest and best competitions. So all I'm simply saying is, first and foremost, we don't have assets to sell within the football club, like what we did with the Felipe Coutinho. May I add, we never ended up winning anything until we got Coutinho. We never won any trophies before he went. So once we sold him, we brought in all these new players, Van Dijk's, Fabinho's. We were linked with Nabil Fekir, that fell through, but we were linked with huge names.
Is that my Wi-Fi or is that his? Am I still here, people? There's 919 of you. Can someone tell me, is it my Wi-Fi or his Wi-Fi? I'm still here. Okay, so it's James. Hopefully we'll get him back. It's just a few technical issues. But look, hopefully the people in the chat know that the conversation where it was going. Look, obviously we pulled out of Jude Bellingham because of the spiraling costs and the expenses. Let me just, because that's not very flattering for James. Hopefully he comes back into the stream. So look, we know the pursuit of Jude Bellingham was embarrassing, because the way it ended and the way we chased him, and then we didn't eventually fork out the money for him. So we can understand being frustrated and angry. I was frustrated, I was angry, but surely the strategy that's made us get to the top, if that is being sort of reconstructed now, it makes sense. So if we're going back to the strategy that we know, FSG know, the analytical team knows, Jurgen Klopp is accustomed to, which is by young potential world stars and mold them into how he wants them to play. Do you get my point, guys? So look, we'll get into the information that I received now. You guys know how this works. You either believe it, you don't believe it, you ignore it, do whatever you want with it. What you don't do is pick up the information and abuse any of my people on my channel or me, because I'm just one of those that block you. Information I received today was that Lilian Thuram has insisted and been a crucial part in suggesting his son's next club is Liverpool Football Club. So Kefren Thuram, we know, we've seen the rumors, we've seen the links, I believe has agreed verbally to choose Liverpool as his football club. There's been reports, I just checked Twitter now, there's loads of people are saying that we've agreed a fee. I haven't myself heard that. I can't confirm that. I can't deny it, because if someone has heard that, then fair play to him. But I was told that we're very confident of agreeing a deal with Lilian Thuram and Nice, his club. I also believe we have met Manu Kone's representatives. When I say we, I don't mean me. I know I get out there, but not me. Jurgen Klopp has had face-to-face meetings with his people and spoken to his people. Manu Kone, I think, is someone correct me if I'm wrong. I think they're both in France at the moment, but obviously they don't need to be here for deals to be processed or be worked on. Obviously, they will be have agents working for them, family, whoever deals with their personal affairs. So Lilian Thuram is, I believe, going to be a Liverpool player. Hopefully, nothing, as far as I know, is agreed with the clubs in terms of a fee. But apparently, the last I heard, which was today this morning, is they're very confident of agreeing a deal. So let me know what you guys think of that. Kefren Turam, potentially looking very likely to be the next Liverpool player. Manu Kone, I was told the deal wouldn't be difficult, especially with, we know Manu Kone's current club, Borussia Mönchengladbach, being hiring our new sporting director's son. I can't remember his first name. Someone let me know what his first name was. He's the football sporting director for Borussia Mönchengladbach, which can only help negotiations. It will never hinder. I said Kefren Turam. Lilian Thuram is his father. I'm sure I said Kefren Turam. Lilian Thuram has insisted his son, Kefren Turam, plays for Liverpool. That's what I was saying. A couple of super chats I want to get through. None of your business in the building. Been a while, lads. Had to repent for my sins for 9 months, but I'm back and we'll bring back some luck for the Red Men. Quad 24 is on, he says. Europa League is better than Champions League. Yeah, hopefully. Hammers is back as well in the building.
Apologies, basically I'm connected with my phone while I'm waiting for my Wi-Fi to be put into my new place. It died. I apologise. It won't happen again.
It's not a problem. Listen. What is the name of my channel? Khanage.
Yeah, you know what I mean. You brought on the right guest, that's for sure.
It's not a problem.
It was getting into a good thing there as well, but I see you've got a couple of super chats.
People were getting into that heated debate, not heated, but sort of differences of opinion, and it's wicked. It's brilliant. Philippe says, big up, Grizz. If you get Thuram, that's massive. Higher ceiling than McAllister, in my opinion. Kone, also solid. If a centre-back comes in, also, Liverpool gets second. Crazy. Second. I like the end bit.
Oh, that'd be nice.
So you don't think we will challenge? Look, we won't continue that debate about strategy and whatnot. We'll get straight into it. What needs to be done then, James, for us to be challenging again? We've lost out on Jude Bellingham, so we've decided to spread that money. Let's just say 120 million circa, right, on 3 players. Let's say, yeah. If we pull out 3 players with the likes of Kone, Thuram, McAllister, and bring in a centre-back that is of at least the same quality as a Gomez and Matip, hopefully better. In your opinion, is that enough?
So two more midfielders, did you say?
One centre-back? Yeah, one centre-back. Yeah, so 2 more starting midfielders. So with McAllister's a starter, right? Do you agree?
Yeah, for sure.
So let's say we get Kone and Thuram, which is the whole purpose of the show today. Kone and Thuram, guys, are our main 2 targets coming up in the next 48 hours, 72 hours. I don't know how long it will take, but we should be hearing much more on those 2 players. If that's the case, James, and we bring in another centre-back of at least the quality of Gomez and Matip, hopefully better, a younger version of Gomez and Matip, is that enough for you to be, okay, we're ready to fight again?
No, but it would over-exceed what I thought we were going to do originally, so I'd be happy. As I learn more about football, because I'll be honest, I spent the last 2, I don't know, maybe 1.5 years being very, I grew a massive agenda against FSG. A lot of it warranted because of the Super League, and it stemmed from there.
Let's hear it out. Go on.
But here's the thing about the agenda. It's something that a lot I still agree with. It got to a point where I was doing things that I don't agree with myself doing, which is making claims that even I didn't know was 100% true, and you make assumptions based on what you've seen. So now I try and look at it to be a lot more balanced. Point I'm getting to is that now it's important to be realistic. So if we do those things, no, I don't think we're going to go and challenge again, because I think we've neglected multiple windows, which is an FSG fault. But I do believe it's an it's better than what I thought it was going to be going into the window. And if we can insert ourselves back into the top 4 conversations, I think that's what FSG have always been fine with doing. But because of a world-class, elite, in fact, manager like Jurgen Klopp, he's able to maximise the players and has done for years. Remember what these was beforehand, and remember the last time you found me a manager who won all these trophies, every single last trophy with the same club, with pretty much the same players the whole way. And was able to maintain that over a long period and done it with players who weren't established beforehand. It's for me, I feel like they made a great appointment in Jurgen, but we're not that, the ambitions, if they are saying it's for the league title, I think the actions contradict that.
Look, that's fair enough, and many will agree with your viewpoint. Many. And even the ones that didn't agree with your viewpoint would have been swayed after the Jude debacle, right? But and I was the same. I'm done with these owners, right? I'm with you. I was like, this is it, man. This is it. What have they done? They've not invested properly, because I've said it openly on my channel and everywhere I've been. They do the bare minimum, and we shouldn't be doing the bare minimum under this coach, because these kind of coaches come very, very rarely. You're not going to get another Jurgen Klopp.
It's not that. It's where would we be without Jurgen? And if that's not top 4, we'd be furious right now. So it's important to identify these things. If you ignore the things while you've got something good, then it's going to go really, really bad. So, for instance, if you've grew up relying on a parent or something along those lines and you become really, really spoiled, you're going to then really struggle when it gets to the real world and you've got to pay your own bills and do your own stuff, because you've been nurtured to be surviving on a different source other than your own. You don't rely on yourself, you rely on someone else. It translates very similarly. If you go into seasons not prepared, what you're doing, this is what I like to say, a lack of preparation is heavy preparation to fail. So when you go into seasons like, a couple of seasons ago where it's Matip, Gomez and Verge, yes, thankfully, Nat Phillips done a job. Never a league-winning defender. Never even the potential of being a league-winning defender. And then you go and get Kabak. I just thought to myself, okay, yeah, this is where I identified it, because they'd done the Super League.
That was the point
thing.
you flipped, didn't it? That was the point that you flipped.
It was the Super League where I flipped. I flipped at the Super League. I didn't even, it weren't even the trophy. It was the Super League I flipped. Afterwards, this is where it built on. And I looked into business a little bit more. And the thing about, I've got to be careful. So people at the top of things can really control people. So basically the point that I'm getting to directly, and I'm not trying to be a conspiracy theorist, is that they can control the narrative. So if they dangle a carrot and you believe in something, you believe in a process, Mbappe or Bellingham, which we've been drawn to, I think now when you don't achieve these big things and you don't achieve competing on all fronts every season, because as I mentioned earlier, 2 of the last 3 we haven't done that, the fans then start to notice, okay, what you're saying is going to happen isn't happening. Why is that? The only difference, and it's because I've got time, I'm a content creator who talks about football, I've got time to look into this stuff. It's sad, but it's great. You learn that these are very okay with maximising the profits that they can make of being a Champions League club, which is a lot of money. But when they come out to you and say they want to compete, everything else says different. So that's why I think you're starting to see a turn, why fans are growing frustrated. And I do think something needs to be done, because let's not forget, these are the same owners who tried to take the heritage football and agreed and signed it away. They weren't the anomaly and said, no, we're going to stand strong because we know what Liverpool stands for. If they sign for that, they don't even know what our club means. And what they've done since has been completely against everything that they've said they're going to do. So I'm still against them, don't get me wrong, but I try and be more fair. So now that I know they want top 4, I'm okay kind of with top 4 until the fan base see it. It's a tough one to tell them.
It's been brilliant having you and saying this, because people in the chat will know that I tried to get as many variety of opinions and balanced opinions, and we love having debates. Now, everything that you've said, a lot of people will agree with, some will disagree with, but the way you've explained it and the way you've spoken about it, people appreciate it, and I agree with you. I do feel you're right. I think they manage expectations. You're absolutely spot on. I think they're masters of managing expectations of the fan base. We're kind of numb to not being able to have star names, as you said. Like we're almost like you said, like what you said. You didn't expect them to buy anyone really, and you shouldn't be in that position. Like you just said, you expected. What did you expect from this window? By the way, to sum up, be honest.
one first team midfielder, one backup midfielder, and then maybe a defender. But it then depends on the profile. And then just even two quick things, and I don't want to go too long here because I want you to continue.
No, do
someone
it.
actually made a good counterpoint in the comments,
Tell
and I
me
actually
which
like to
one.
read these out. There was one. It was something about it was actually a good one as well. I really hope I find it because I can't remember it now. It was about FSG doing good. It was about FSG doing good. So they've made a training stadium is the point he was making, and they've done a couple of other good things. Basically, I like people who defend FSG because then it gives me an argument to work off. And the point I was going to say, if I feed my child, so milk from when it's a baby grows up, and then I feed it cocoa noodles and I do these things. The cocoa noodles will let the baby live to a certain degree, but it's not good for the baby to feed it cocoa noodles until it's 18. Probably going to be scrambled to some degree. So even though I'm doing enough, it's not doing the thing that's going to allow the baby to thrive the most. And I know that's a mad, crazy example, and yes, that's where this brain goes.
No, people flow.
But you get the point. You get the point, and that was the sort of thing I wanted to mention. There is that. Don't forget the fact that even though they've done some good things, it doesn't take away from all of the negative things in which they've done. It's important to identify both, is all I'm saying. So I do work on every day trying to be more balanced, trust me. I do.
Total Eclipse says FSG have tainted and damaged Klopp's level and history if you think about it. Imagine they actually backed him every single transfer window and brought players in when he was on top. I want to ask you then, in that case, right? We've spoken about FSG, and I tend to agree with a lot of your points. Some people may be surprised with that, whatever. And I'm not a defender of FSG at all. I'm a defender of rationality.
That's what I'm working on. Yeah.
I'm a defender of logic, and I'm a defender of
exactly.
Yeah, I'm not a defender of FSG. I couldn't give a shit about FSG. They're just custodians of my great club right now. Like, they come and go. The club will always be there, right? So I couldn't give a shit about them, and I'm not on their payroll, not even remotely. But where are you with Jurgen Klopp in on all this then, James? Because I get your sentiments about FSG, and they haven't done enough. And your expectations, the way they fucking managed your expectations in recent windows was like, I couldn't give a shit about the links. I know we're going to end up with one midfielder, one youngster, and maybe a centre-back. And they'll just make excuses.
Only because I get called negative when I get called out for it. So I have to take the reserve step and then let people see it for themselves.
But they've ingrained, they've made you think like that. And you're not the only one. A lot of the fan base think, a lot of the fan base think like, we ain't doing shit. I'd say the majority of the fan base are in the boat of you saying, we won't do shit. All these rumors and links and players. Listen, when I see them holding up the shirt, then I'll believe it. Otherwise, I know FSG. I know our owners. They're just going to talk the talk, but never walk the walk. But where does Jurgen Klopp, I'm saying to you, and I want to ask your opinion, because me and you haven't spoken about this actually. Where's Jurgen Klopp? Is there any blame or any concern that Jurgen Klopp hasn't done enough, been forceful enough, because Jurgen Klopp, for me, is one of the most powerful managers in the game right now.
Yeah.
Could he do more in terms of, I'm Jurgen Klopp, I need backing, otherwise I can't function properly.
Boss question. To answer that question as well, just before I do, last thing, a proof of indoctrination, which like what you've just touched on. Imagine if I told you 12 months ago that we were going to get Europa League. That's just one little bit of proof of evidence of how FSG can spin the narrative, or the people they employ can spin the narrative to then get you focusing on Bobby Firmino and James Milner leaving, and then you forget that we're in the Europa League. But anyway, on Jurgen Klopp, that was just a case study. But on Jurgen Klopp alone, yes, every manager is to blame. So some of the biggest games that I've saw Pep Guardiola have, he's actually bottled, especially on a European pedigree. Not a disrespect to an elite manager, simply identifying that even the best of the best can make mistakes and they have flaws. So Jurgen Klopp most certainly falls into that category. But Jurgen Klopp is also the man who won Dortmund the last title, the last manager to win the Bundesliga that weren't with a Bayern Munich team. And then furthermore, he's won every single trophy there is to win at Liverpool with, I identified the names before. Besides Fabinho and Thiago, I can't think of real established names that we signed before we signed them. But I do remember signing Robertson. I actually remember being at the game where we got beat 2-0 by Hull City and Robertson was playing left back, and I thought, wow, all these players are shit and I can't believe we've just got beat by them. I'm glad that we'll never have to see none of these players because hopefully they'll get relegated. Next thing you know, we sign Robertson and it goes into what it does. Point I'm saying, he's maximised 97 and 99 points, Grizz, with these players. It's not just title contention for a couple of seasons. These was points tallies that beat Sir Alex Ferguson's highest ever points tally was 91 points. I'm just saying it's a big factor that Klopp has had 3 that surpassed that against a team like Manchester City, especially in an era where every single team has inflated funds, because back in the day it was like maybe 10 teams would have more funds than the bottom teams, and then the top half teams would have the most. But now it's like, even Leicester, who've just been relegated, they've got insane funds and have spent massive over the past couple of years. Point is, everyone's got money. It's very competitive. It shows, and it's a true testament. Like Jurgen Klopp, I love my history, Grace. You love your history. We love our history. I love looking into Bob Paisley and Bill Shankly and the history of those two, and really what they made this football club into what it is, not just through what they won, but the mentality they instilled. Jurgen Klopp, same thing, and I think it's a big shame when we see a football club that was built on the foundations of the most elite success, like literally everything we won, and then you get Jurgen Klopp, who wins everything, and then we're fine with Europa League. It's a big shame. So yes, I do blame Jurgen Klopp, but if you only dedicate 10 to 20% of the blame to Jurgen Klopp, then you have to address the bigger issue at hand first. It's a very simple thing. If you get locked out of your house, but your house has a shit inside and it stinks, you're going to worry about the shit later, and you're going to worry about getting in your house first. Do you get where I'm going?
Absolutely. I get it.
Same correlates.
Mm-hmm. Big up Cecito, my good friend, says FSG have done more good than bad.
Disagree.
Yeah, there you go. Did you want to expand on that? Because I think you have.
I feel
really.
like I've already said, yeah.
I think you really have.
I would actually be hoping he would have, but yeah, I just thought that clarified. I disagree.
I think it's a difficult one to answer.
The specifics more good than bad. Sorry, the greatest thing they could have ever done was appoint Jurgen Klopp. You've got to give them credit for that. The worst thing they could have ever done is appoint a manager as good as Jurgen Klopp and not maximise him. So it's kind of hand in hand.
I think, do you know what, James?
Go say.
I'm not going to lie. Time's flown, and I want to carry on talking about this because I've really enjoyed this chat. Because this is deep, and you've brought out the deepness in me, and you've got me thinking now, right? And I love it. I love you for this, right? You've got me thinking at what time. I just hosted the Big Six. Can you imagine how much chaos it was and how hard it was?
I feel you, fam.
I'm so tired, but you've got me really engaged in deep conversation, and I hope the people are appreciating this chat because there's nearly 1,000 of you guys in here. And
wow, big up, man, big up, big show.
This is getting real good. So we've discussed FSG in terms of what they needed to do. You said they've managed your expectations to such a degree that you had no expectations, but yet. Yeah, are you? For example, I was of the opinion, if they don't invest, because I agree with you, Phil Coutinho was an asset they sold, and it was something to build on. They haven't got that right now, but surely they have to put that into place now without selling anyone. So we're not going to sell Mohamed Salah. We're not going to sell who else?
So you're admitting they were capable of doing that?
I agree with you. Yes.
So you're admitting. So okay. And by the way, this is me having a go at you. I'm just saying you're admitting that they're capable.
I agree with you.
But they're capable. So if they're capable, why didn't they do it before?
But this is my point. They didn't do it before. They don't do it. That's not how they operate. What I will say is,
just in case someone would answer that question, yeah.
They never claimed to operate in any other way, though. They never claimed to. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. They always said, We're going to do this. We're going to do this. We're hedge fund investors. That's what we are. And this is what we're going to do. We're going to do it our way. What I'm saying is, a mere fan, we've seen them do all sorts with our club, but more good than the bad. I'm trying to address the super chat as directly as I can. More good than bad. I don't know if it's as bad as we're saying, as you're saying. No way. You're saying they've done more bad than good. I can't agree with that.
Fair. So taking away the heritage football is not a big thing to you?
They didn't do it.
Didn't do it. Tried to. Would have if they could have.
But this is the point. Could have.
Intention matters. It doesn't matter. No, intention matters because the second you analyse the intention of a man is the second that you can analyse the next time that he can stab you in the back. I'm just simply saying, don't ignore the original intention. Just because we put a few yellow flowers in videos is the first point.
I agree with your intention. You made a.
I'm not trying to make you sound like. I'm not trying to make you sound like that you are a Super League lover. I know you're not. I'm just.
I agree with you. You've come
Next
back with a
thing,
brilliant counterpoint about intention because they intended to do this. But at the end of the day, for example,
never had to go with the model, by the way. Do you like the way you're saying they've never claimed to do it a different way? Because obviously I am saying I would like to get the big players in the big fields. I'd like to at least get a mixture of them. The thing where I struggle, so they can claim this, but if you are going to adapt a model, which probably isn't the most efficient model just because you have limited resources, but if that is the case, and you can categorically tell me you're spending the most money you can on this business, then fair enough. Now, I am inclined to believe that that's not true. I also have case studies from completely other parts of the world in America where their fans are fuming with them over there, with their situation. So all I'm saying, there's case studies there and there's elements to where we've underachieved. If we underachieved and we feel like we've underachieved, that matters. That really does matter. And I do believe to suggest that the team with the most trophies of all time in England to yes have won one of each trophy, to have not added on any of them, I think is an underachievement. And to get the best manager in the world, or one of at least, is great. To not give him the resources is bad.
I agree with your overall thinking and I agree with your overall thesis on the situation. But what I mean is football and sport and everything at the highest level, the margins are so fine, James. So let me put this scenario to you. Let me put this scenario to you. In this period that you've said we've added only one Champions League, one Premier League, one FA Cup, one of each trophy, yeah? Look at the fine margins we've had to fuck with. Unfortunately, and it hurts us. We're going to have to go through it, people in the chat.
Nah, you're bang on. You're bang on.
Two Champions League finals against the greatest club in the world ever created by man, woman, whatever, Real Madrid. Right? One man of the match performance in the Champions League final where we were the better team. Like Courtois had a magnificent game. 2 1-point defeats on the last game of the season against a juggernaut and allegedly cheating juggernaut like Man City, who have had 1.6 billion or 2 billion now invested in them. What I'm trying to suggest and say is fine margins. Add another 2 leagues and another 2 Champions Leagues. Would your thinking be different? Because look at the fine margins I've discussed. One was a 5mm ball over the line at Etihad. Do you remember? Away. If VAR was in, we would have won the double that season. Do you remember? You know the one we were Champions League? We beat.
Yeah, man. No, I'm on you. You're right. By the double.
Yeah, if VAR was in. So context, I believe, matters when you look at the overall.
Allow me to add more then. So, okay, you're bang on. Context matters. Let me add more. In the sense of, okay, then, so going into the season, because going into a season, the state of your squad, going into a season with Joe Gomez, Joe Matip and Virgil van Dijk, that's good to you?
No.
Okay. Next thing I'll say, going into, because you mentioned fine margins, couldn't have thought anything more accurate that you could have said there, because fine margins is very much a thing in football, and whether it's this, or whether it's this, or whether it's this, you can adjust those margins, even if it's only slightly one way or the other. And you do that by knowing going into a season with Matip, Gomez and Virgil van Dijk, that's a problem. Going into your first ever Champions League final as ownership with Lallana as the potential replacement for Salah as right winger, that is a problem. And then when you go into last season after nearly winning a quadruple, you, instead of thinking, no, let's go and kick on, you instead go ahead and finish in Europa. Why? Because you decided to neglect, like you did a couple of seasons ago with the defence, the exact same thing to do with the midfield. So yes, they've never claimed to go out and buy the best of the best players, but they at least claimed that they were going to do the best job they possibly could for Liverpool. I believe that is insincere. I believe that's insincere based on certain things that I've seen in the past. So I'm not doing it based off no judgment or things that have happened.
Absolutely.
And I'm also seeing it based on the times where when we was in those tough periods, when we needed a centre-back, we got Kabak. When we needed a midfielder, we got Arthur. If you're telling me that was the best that we could possibly do, that's absolutely where I sit there and say, I don't think that's sincere. And if I've got an ownership who isn't being sincere, that's an ownership I've got a problem with. And it's an ownership that either needs to go or step aside and get further investment, something in which we haven't done yet. So that's the only thing I'll combat you there. Yes, you're right, there's fine margins, but if you agree that we can adjust those fine margins, then you must also agree there's not a chance in hell we maximise that opportunity to adjust those margins in our favour. We knew that we had tight title races against Man City. We knew that we could have been facing a juggernaut like Real Madrid in the Champions League final. You have to adjust to that accordingly, and we didn't do it.
I absolutely agree with you. And people thinking that it's a two and grow. No, we're having a conversation here, people. And I absolutely agree with every point that he's made. I absolutely agree with the points he's made. But I'm merely, as a host and playing devil's advocate, suggesting, because a show would be boring if we're just Imagine me and you just
I saw what
lashing
you were
out
doing.
on whatever, right?
saw
Just
what you were
lashing
doing.
whatever, and then So we have to have a balance and a counterbalance and counterpoints. I agree with you. Someone made a very good point, guys. I've got all of your super chats. Don't worry, but this is a
My G's.
brilliant point. This is a brilliant point that backs you up. And those fine margins can only be rectified when we go and spend that extra cash on world-class players and not project
He
players.
said it better than me.
He said no, you said it better. Because you explained it, because you're right. Those fine margins can be rectified by maybe a signing. And I know it's not as simplistic as that, because the counterpoint would be, oh, please, you're trying to say, what if that signing, for example, we bought Kabak. Do you remember when we had no centre-backs? No, we went out and bought Kabak and the fella, I don't even remember his name. Ben Davies. Like what? Liverpool Football Club. Jurgen
You just
Klopp.
angered me a little bit more because I forgot about Ben Davies, but yeah.
No, but check this out. No, calm down. I know you're going to get angry. But but check this out. But what is to say, because now I'm going to come back to your...
Go.
If your auntie had, you're famous, right? Because this is it.
Course.
Because this is you. You made this famous. You made this famous, right?
I live and die by it, brother.
You live and die by it. So
live and die.
So for example, if we had bought Ibu Konate instead of those two,
yes.
What if he gets injured in the first week and he's out for 2 months?
Yes.
So what I'm saying is we have to base it on the overall strategy.
Did we do that?
But check this out. But this is where I'm coming. But this is where I try to angle it towards, of course, FSG, our FSG. No one can defend them in the transfer market. No one can defend the level of investment. No one. It's been atrocious. It's been embarrassing. But this is where I want to say, I don't want to put an answer in your head. Isn't Jurgen Klopp part of that process, though? Like, for example, he came at the end of the window and said, I'm sorry, I did make a mistake. I should have asked for a midfielder. And then they gave him Arthur Mello, which was a shithouse of an absolute shambolic, embarrassing midfielder to give him. But shouldn't Jurgen Klopp not have said what he said at the start of the window? What do you want, guys? We've got Keita, we've got Ox, we've got Curtis, we've got Elliott. He named all the midfielders. Shouldn't he be more responsible as well and say, no, we need this, we need this. Pep, Conte, Fergie, if they wanted something, they went to the board and made sure they got it. Jurgen Klopp has to, I believe, take a little bit of the blame. Little bit.
Do you have a belief that Klopp has the most influence on transfers?
I believe Jurgen Klopp is one of the most powerful managers in the game right now. I believe FSG wouldn't go against Jurgen Klopp's demands and wishes if he was forceful, because
massively
FSG are the most cunning, clever in the world, because they're billionaires, and no billionaire is dumb. They know Jurgen Klopp, they're done at here.
Yes.
James Redmond. If Jurgen Klopp even indicates to the fan base, I'm not getting back to you, Liverpool, Koppites all around the world, they know there'll be protests, walkout in stadiums, all sorts of things that would say, FSG, get the fuck out. Jurgen Klopp, in my humble opinion, can be that player, so to speak, power player. I think he's got that much power, yes.
I only asked the question because then if you analyse the situation, okay, so first of all, you believe he's got high power. I believe there's been circumstances that contradict that. But before we even go into that, I believe we've also saw case studies to suggest that, okay, for instance, so when, Salah, for instance, Jurgen Klopp didn't want Salah. Thankfully, that proven to be one that it was actually a good decision. Jurgen Klopp wanted to keep James Milner, didn't get to keep James Milner. Again, one that I actually agree with. So all these decisions that I'm referencing right now, yes, but then this is the one thing that it proves, is that if they disagreed on that, then what else have they disagreed on? Because now you cannot say the argument that no matter what, they will back Jurgen Klopp to the hills. Also, you're right, FSG are some of the smartest ever, and here's the reason why they are, because they can identify a man's credibility, they can identify a man's integrity, and when they employ somebody like Jurgen Klopp, a man who joined Liverpool because he believed in the project, a real passion, like a passionate manager, you saw it from the day that he came in, you see it on the sidelines, you saw it when he ran on and celebrated with Allister against it's just one of those things. They know who they're dealing with. It's the man of utmost professionalism. It's a man who will not go against his business partner in front, and also you need to know about the man that you're dealing with. So you're judging the final premise of the club's decisions on what Klopp says in press. And you have also saw, and you know this, Grizz, he doesn't care about press. In fact, he merely respects the press. He'll show respect to the respectful press, but he doesn't like the idea of having to go and speak to a bunch of random reporters after a game. So he doesn't like them. Therefore, he doesn't care about giving them the honest answers, because he knows that the reporters, especially in this country, are capable of mixing the words. So why do they deserve the transparency? What have they done for the club? In fact, we know that there's a massive agenda against the club. So why would we feed against these things? And that weren't me being a victim. I'm just saying there's a lot of things in the past that we've had conflictions with these newspapers. So that's why I'm saying, if Jurgen Klopp doesn't want to feed them, why is he going to say the things you want to hear in a press conference? Because then, if it's the things you want to hear, it's the things that the press is going to want to hear. Now, let me revert it back to one final point before you go. If you think that Jurgen Klopp has 100% license to go and say whatever he wants in press conferences, I only disagree, because it was only last season in the summer where he said we don't need midfielders. 2 months later, he said we need midfielders. He's being told what to say, Chris. Now, you can say that he's bad for agreeing, being told what to say. Now, let me go back to the man, the integrity, the professionalism. He's not going to go against the man who he is partnered with in public. We don't know what these things are going on behind the scenes, therefore I cannot make a judgment. But no, I do not believe that Jurgen Klopp is wholeheartedly 100% making all these decisions, and I don't think that's what he was employed for. Therefore, do your job and help what is a world-class man manager, a world-class coach who has built a world-class staff room, which has proven to win every trophy. It is now down to the club to accommodate the manager. If they can't do it, they're doing him a disservice, because now they're just sending him out like a clown, saying things that they want him to say. And you can see it, Grizz. So that's my final conclusion.
I'm going to give a final one as well. And guys, I hope you guys have enjoyed this chat as
I've
much
loved
as I
it.
have.
I've loved
James.
it. Thank you, everyone.
I've absolutely loved it. But what I was but just finish off with that saying, I agree with you. I don't want Jurgen Klopp coming out in press conferences necessarily and talking up against his owners. It defies exactly what Jurgen Klopp's, it goes against what Jurgen Klopp's about. But in private, in private conversations behind the scenes, Jurgen Klopp, I feel, could have done more, especially in recent windows, to want more. And I think he has given hints in last season's press conferences. I think it's the closest he came to giving hints about saying we need to spend, we need to do this. So and also I think, and I hate to say I know, because it's very difficult to prove what you know. Because everyone says, the first question everyone asks is, how do you know that? And I couldn't be able to.
That's why I'll give you references of things that we know. I don't know what goes on behind the scenes, so it's tough to make a judgment.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But what we can see, or what we can oversee, is a sporting director leaving, and a sporting director, his replacement, leaving within a year, and another sporting director coming in who is, let's be honest, has been appointed on the advice of Jurgen Klopp. So it suggests to me Jurgen Klopp is very powerful. Jurgen Klopp has...
Some are right, some agree, and then disagree on some. And then what are those disagreements? And then what are those detriments to the football club? Do you feel me?
I absolutely feel you. 100%. But guys, this was just a taster of me and James in the up-and-coming season over the window. We have got some amazing shows lined up for you guys. We're going to be planning, and we're not going to reveal all our plans today, but we're going to be doing one show a week on his channel and one show a week on my channel. This is just the tip of the iceberg. What we just gave you a small, a small glimpse into what kind of debates we're going to have. Yes, total disagreements, agreements, but done with absolute passion and respect. A couple of super chats we want to get through. Are new signings data-driven or Klopp eye test? Joel Mendonca says, time will tell. Time will tell. It's very unclear at the moment. It's the best time to judge these things is at the end of the window and assess the overall profile of the player.
By the way, to give a little bit of insight on this, I was in a pub a couple of months ago when he used to work as within the team below FSG. Not the board of directors, but like a side onto that team. But anyway, he told me about how they operated. So there's two people who are the owners, and then one of them basically focus on the scouting teams and getting them out, and then the other one focus on the analytical data. So to basically tell you what you're saying, it's very rarely Klopp who's going out and scouting the players. In fact, it's very little. It's mostly the football club identifying the players. Yeah.
People know that watched my show with Ben Jacobs, CBS journalist, news reporter, a few nights ago, last week. He absolutely explained and nailed the whole process, and he basically he told us that the process hasn't changed, just the people, the personnel have changed, which is good to know, I guess. No Beats, big up No Beats in the building. He says, let's be real, what can we ever do about FSG?
That was what I wanted to answer. Let
Go
me
on.
answer this dead quick, if that's
It's all
okay.
yours. This is yours.
I know it's late and you've been doing hours.
No, this is yours.
It's very great. So how do you? Okay, I'm not going to reference Chris because that wouldn't be fair. How do you run James Redmond TV out of business? Don't watch him. How do you not want to go to work? You go on strike. You know, if you want something changed, you've got to take collective effort. Therefore, the whole fan base has got to see it. So this is why I've took a little bit of a step back and tried to be more preserved, because if people see nothing but emotion from what I'm saying about FSG, they're not going to resonate with it because they believe that I'm not going to use any logic with it as well. So now that I'm trying to take the balance, it's very important to notice that, okay, if they are not being sincere and therefore that means we need new owners, then we need to have the collective voice. But as I said before, 12 months ago, if I told you was in Europa League, you would have been fuming, and actually you would have called me negative, because people did call me negative when I suggested that as an idea last summer before the season kicked off. Now, fast forward that we're there, you've been taught over because we signed Allister, Firmino went, Milner went, you got took away from it. It's something that is used on... let me be careful. Many areas, like many different areas of life, and it's very easy to basically indoctrinate a fan base, for instance. So what we do about FSG, play the reverse card. They do it on us because we buy their shirts, we buy their tickets and stuff like this. If you want a real change, then of course you show significant signs. And actually there's evidence from Liverpool fans directly of making change. For instance, when they tried to increase the ticket prices, even stingy money grabbers like them decided to lower them when we took a stand, and multiple, I can't remember the exact amount, but the majority of Anfield walking out of the stadium against Sunderland, actually huge. We were winning the game, we ended up drawing the game, but it got the ticket prices lowered. And even though it cost us that game, it made FSG make a change. If we make that collective voice louder, best believe it might not get us new owners, but it'll get us more agent owners. And if that's something that you align with, then we need to get that voice louder. Simple.
Zuberi comes in the building, and I knew Zuberi would. When it's any FSG chat, Zuberi is front line. I will set up a show, people, with Zuberi, me, and James. This should be absolute fire content. Zuberi, James probably doesn't know Zuberi yet, but we'll get to know. We're going to have some fun in the coming sumps.
Grace, one more. Get Sawtooth's comment up there quick, please. It's one towards the bottom. James doesn't think Klopp does anything wrong. It's all FSG that didn't want midfielders. Okay, so if Klopp is doing everything wrong like you claim, let's say you're right and we'll go off your premise. So Klopp's doing everything wrong. Who appointed Jurgen Klopp? Exactly. So it's always got to go back to somebody. So if it's the manager who's doing wrong, you've got to identify the owners. If the manager hasn't got enough resources, you've got to identify the owners. If the club is underachieving, you've got to identify the owners. I don't get why you're thinking I'm just saying the things about FSG because we've got Jurgen Klopp. I just believe we've done well because we've got Jurgen Klopp. And if we didn't, then you'd see where we was before we had him, which was a consistent Europa League team, unless we had Luis Suarez. Just to answer your question, because I don't want to go ghosting, I think it's important when you have a strong view like me, you know, changing an ownership of the football club. I think it's absolutely integral that I maximise the research that I've done and tell you my responses to these questions, because it's important, man.
It's very important. Zuberi comes back and says more fury should be on the injury-prone players that didn't help when needed to close those fine margins than the owners. Stop speculating FSG for life. I don't think even Zuberi believes that. I think he's just trolling, which he does. We know.
I love the trollers.
We know Zuberi loves lighting up a fire. But people, that's just a snippet of kind of the content we're going to bring to you in this onto your screens in the up and coming months. But today, what you guys need to know. So I also promised 2 deals that I believe, just my opinion, again, disclaimer, 2 deals that I don't think we'll be pursuing is surprise, surprise. There was links with Shuameni. We did make a tentative inquiry to see if Shuameni has changed his mind miraculously, and now suddenly he wants to leave Real Madrid after telling us no, he wants to go to Real Madrid just after a season. No. There's no Shuameni happening. And also, I've been told, just me, and it's up to you guys to believe it or not. And if it comes out that it's incorrect, no problem. I was told the wrong thing. But Gabri Viega, how you say his name, the young Celta Vigo, attacking midfielder. I've been told we're not going to be pursuing that, which you can take as a negative or a positive depending on your thinking. Because if it means we've made strides with other targets, it could be a good thing. But if it's your player that you wanted, you may look at it as a negative. So I've been told that Gabriel Viega won't be pursued. If he does, all well and good, because I think he's a fantastic player.
Yeah.
But what you guys need to know is, I'm here to tell you guys what I think. I think Kefren Turam has agreed personal terms. I think Manu Kone, we have got another important meeting with his people today,
Beautiful.
Friday. Is it past midnight? Friday.
Oh, no, in 9 minutes.
9 minutes. I think today, in 9 minutes, we will meet his people today, if that makes sense. In 9 minutes, but tomorrow. It's still tomorrow. Where I think we're making headways and strides into those deals. As I said, and this is the original conversation with me and James had, my expectations were, after the Jude debacle, you better show me intent. And I agree with James. It's all about intent. If FSG don't show me intent, and what I mean by intent is bring in at least, and I said it at the start of the window, so I'm not going to be a hypocrite and go again and stop what I'm saying and be a coward. If they do not bring in at least 4 first teamers, then I will have felt they have done F4 about it, and I would doubt. I already doubt their intentions. I'm with James on that. See, people need to clarify what I mean. I am not FSG in. I'll repeat, I am not FSG in.
Yes.
I am FSG, do the right thing. That's why I am. They have to do the right thing. And the right thing after the bad, incorrect thing, or things that they've done, is invest in the team without having the need to sell one of your stars or whatever. And invest in the team. I absolutely applaud the work they've done off the pitch in terms of the sponsorship, the stadiums, the commercial side, and the strategic decisions behind the scenes. But on the pitch, it's been close to embarrassing at times. The level of investment in the pitch has been embarrassing. Fix that this summer, and then we can talk. That's my opinion. James has made his opinions very, very clear as well. Hope you guys respected his opinions. Hope you guys respected my opinions. This has been an impromptu, magnificent Transfer Khanage show. James, I've fucking enjoyed that, man.
I love you, brother. I love you. And if you disagree with all my opinions, get them in the comments down below, because it improves the algorithm.
Absolutely. Look, no, the majority of them agreed with you, bro. I'm not even going to lie. The majority of them agree with you, and that's the beauty of it.
It's just as important, because people don't. This is the last thing I'll touch on, and then I'll shut up for the rest of the night. I think it's very important to have discussion. I think it's very important to be thought-provoking. Therefore, I actually really appreciate the people who come in and say, "No, James, you're wrong because of this." And you noticed, I was like, "Chris, call that one out, bring that one up," because I'm always like that, mate. I do it on my chat, and I always think it's good to create discussion. So I appreciate the people who do agree or disagree with me or Grizz. Get it in the comments, and that's what creates these shows and allows them to flow. So thank you, chat, and thank you, Grizz, for having me on.
So just to round up, guys, in case people say the title was clickbait, I was supposed to give you 2 exclusives. Of course, Twitter got there ahead of me because I had to do the Big Six and I had to put the show back.
The stream was set up earlier, though.
I know, exactly. I was supposed to give you 2 exclusives. My 2 exclusives were personal terms have been agreed with Kefren Turam, and I believe a deal is nearing to be agreed. And also Manu Kone is close to agreeing terms. We will have another meeting with his agents tomorrow. I think they're the 2 players we're pursuing. I don't believe we were in for Shuameni, and I don't believe we will be pursuing, what's his name? Just a small side note, Hammers. In our conversations with Nice, apparently they have asked for Fabio Carvalho in return as a loan. Just your thoughts on young Fabio Carvalho. Oh, God, I think you've got quite opinion on this. Go on.
Yes. So I actually mentioned it in the video the other day, the brief version of what I want to say. So there's a very logical thing that we can do with Fabio Carvalho. It's a great position. He was a young talent from Fulham. He's came in, and from what we've seen, he's done fairly well, but he just hasn't been given that many chances. Why? Because if you look at the list of 8s and then the list of left wingers, he's not better than the options, at least in Klopp's eyes. So it's now a case of, okay, do you sell him? We came out and said that we're not going to do that. Happy days. So what does that mean? I think that definitely means a loan. Now that we're leaning towards that, I think a loan would be great, because if he goes and does bad, we now know he's probably not going to adhere to the system and become a first-team player. If he goes on loan and does good, I recommended the Bundesliga. It increases value. You then retain him with a 15 to 20 to 25 million pound player, possibly more, if he does what some have been able to do and go there and be one of the better young players, just because he has got the ability there. So I think the best thing for Fabio right now is a loan, whether it's in France, Bundesliga, Netherlands, I don't care, just somewhere where he can grow, get game time, and stand out, most importantly. Increase the value, and then bring him back either at your pleasure and use him in your team. Or you sell him, you get that 30, 40 million, which adds to the model which we spoke about throughout the stream and allows us to go and invest into players that we need. Nothing but good things. Happy he's going out on loan. And I do hope that he can claw back any hope that we did have. But last thing, actually, was you surprised to see how upset everyone was when they thought he was going? And hear me out, when Ryan Brewster was in the barbershops lifting Champions League medals a couple of years ago, nobody cared. And even though he was a gem and he could have been the next big thing, nobody cared because we were successful. I believe the only reason why people care Fabio going, and listen, it's important to defend young players, but I think the only reason why they really care, the volume that they have, is because we've had a bad season. Of course, because they believe there's a player there, but because we rely on so little, see where I'm going, because we rely on so little, we're relying on a £7.7 million player, and we want him to stay that bad to the point where fans are having a go at Jürgen and Pep Linders for a player that they've watched 5 times. So
we will check this out. We are going to continue this debate and chat on your channel.
I'll go all day. Don't even
start.
So we
will, guys. If you want to know my opinion and answer to that, make sure you check out James Redmond TV. As I said, we will be doing alternate weeks on each other's channel. You're about to get content. That's a very good question, and it's unfair on me to give you a 2-minute answer. Ash comes in with a late super chat, probably the last one of the night. He says, "Big up, guys. Out of Kone and Thuram, which one plays the most games next season, in your opinion?" I'll take that, because James professes not to be an expert on either. Out of Kone and Thuram, top of my head, my guess would be Thuram. I think Thuram is, even Kone's, they're the same age. They're about the same age. I just think the profile.
I think whoever's not the CDM plays more.
Yeah. I just think. See, I've got a weird opinion on this, guys, and I know you haven't asked this, Ash, but I'll give you an answer, or I'll give you my opinion anyway. People have asked me who would you prefer. Thuram is the better footballer. Okay. Kone is more what Liverpool need. The attributes of Kone are, he's a physical beast. His main strengths are winning the ball back, his energy levels, his box to box, killing out attacks, his defensive duels. I think we need more of that. Thuram is a progressive, forward-thinking, attacking midfielder. We pulled out of Mason Mount or whatever, but you get what I mean. We're bringing in Thuram. Thuram is another Mason Mount attacking midfielder, can play right-sided 8, left-sided 8. Kone, I believe, could be developed into our new Fabinho.
Okay. And I've liked what I've seen from Kone as well, so I can see what you're saying there.
There you go. I think we can mold him. I think we can mold him into our new destroyer, and that's why I want him more. I think he's more needed in the Liverpool team, but I think Thuram is the better footballer.
Yes, I'm on to you.
No more. We could talk all night, and we have been talking.
That's why I'm really trying to keep my mouth shut, because I've enjoyed the conversation too much. I could go all night. So,
as I said, guys, we will continue. James will set the agenda for his show, and I will be in the defender's seat, or whatever you want to call it, and he will be judge, executioner, etc., etc. Hope you guys have enjoyed it. If you have enjoyed it, like the stream, subscribe to his channel, subscribe to my channel, and we're just blessed and humbled that you guys have stayed 1 hour, 22 minutes with us. Nearly 1,000 of you. It's been good. All systems go. French Revolution, is that one way of saying it? A possible French Revolution. A possible French Revolution in the offing. Take care, people.
Let's go.
Bye-bye.
Peace.